Life is incredibly complex. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, distractions, and opportunities, some good, some not so good. But despite all this, it's often the simplest things, the errors we commit time and again, that end up dictating the course of our lives. Today, I want to talk to you about 6 specific mistakes that are undoubtedly holding you back from reaching your fullest potential. Today, these aren't errors of intelligence or skill, no. They're mental mistakes, beliefs, habits, and ways of thinking that undermine your ability to move forward in life. First, and perhaps most fundamentally, you've got to take responsibility for your life. And I'm not talking about just accepting blame when something goes wrong, though that's part of it. What I mean is this: you are responsible for everything that happens in your life, no matter how far out of your control it seems. It's easy to pass the blame on your circumstances, on other people, or on fate itself. But when you do that, you hand over the reins of your life. You have no power if you aren't willing to accept responsibility. It's only when you own your situation, as grim as it may seem, that you can begin to change it. Another major mistake people make is living without a clear vision. You've got to know what you're working toward. If you don't know where you're going, how can you possibly expect to get there? The world is filled with distractions. And if you don't have a clear, compelling reason to move forward, you'll be constantly pulled in every direction. You will feel directionless, uncertain, and probably a little miserable. Now, let me tell you something about fear. It's not your enemy, it's a signal. But if you let it control you, you're going to be stuck. Too many people get paralyzed by fear. They're afraid of failure, afraid of what people think, afraid of rejection. Fear should never dictate your actions. You have to learn how to use fear as a guide to push you into action, not to lock you in place. It's okay to be scared. Just don't let it stop you. You can't possibly succeed in life if you neglect your health, your physical and mental well-being. It's not some afterthought. Your health is foundational. If you're not taking care of your body, not sleeping enough, not eating properly, or constantly letting stress eat you up from the inside, it'll be impossible to accomplish anything meaningful. A weak body equals a weak mind, and a weak mind can't achieve greatness. Here's the thing: life is full of discomfort, challenge, and hardship. And you know what? You don't get to avoid it. If you constantly run from discomfort, if you seek the easiest path all the time, you're going to find yourself stuck in mediocrity. The truth is that growth happens when you embrace discomfort, when you push through the pain, the fatigue, and the fear. So long as you avoid it, you remain stagnant. Time is your most precious resource. You can lose money, you can lose possessions, but you can't get back time once it's gone. The mistake many make is letting time slip by without purpose. They waste it on distractions, on trivial matters, or in the illusion of waiting for the right moment. You must manage your time with the seriousness it deserves. Every moment is an opportunity to move closer to your goals or further away from them. So, what will it be? There's a tendency to settle, to look at the world around you and think, this is fine, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. But good enough is not good enough. You were not made to settle for mediocrity. You were made to strive, to push, and to reach for the very best you can become. Excellence should be your standard. Anything less is an affront to your potential. Another mistake is avoiding your own darkness. This is one of the hardest things to face. We all have weaknesses, flaws, and tendencies toward destructiveness. If you deny or ignore them, you don't just let them fester, you empower them. You must confront the darkness within you, examine your faults, and work to correct them. The alternative is letting that darkness control your life without even realizing it. Let's take a moment and talk about responsibility, because this is where everything begins. If you don't take responsibility for your life, you will always be at the mercy of circumstances. You'll be forever blaming others, pointing fingers, and looking for excuses. That's not living, that's just surviving. And when you're in survival mode, you're not growing, you're just trying to get by. The key to success, to growth, and to happiness starts with realizing that you are the architect of your own life. No one else is responsible for your happiness, your progress, or your future but you. It's easy to sit back and blame external factors. Your upbringing, your environment, your boss, your family, your circumstances, but the truth is, when you take responsibility, you take control. You take control of your thoughts, your actions, and the way you respond to life. Without that, you're always going to be tossed around by the winds of the world, and that's no way to live. Now, taking responsibility doesn't mean just saying, okay, this is my fault when something goes wrong. It means looking at your entire life and saying, I am responsible for where I am right now, good or bad. And then taking that ownership and moving forward with the understanding that no one is coming to save you. It's you. You're the one who has to put in the work, make the hard choices, and stand tall when things get tough. When things get tough, ask yourself the question, what is my only constraint right now? And is this barrier something that limits my growth? Too often, people look for someone to blame because it's easier. It takes less effort to point the finger than to look inward and ask, what could I have done differently? How could I have been better? But the minute you stop blaming others, you stop giving your power away. You reclaim that power and you can start shaping your life the way you want it. That's what responsibility is all about. It's not about being perfect, but about being in charge. I'm having a truly great time right now. So I challenge you to take responsibility for where you are right now. If you're unhappy, figure out why. If you're stuck, figure out what you need to do to get moving. It's on you. You have the ability to change your situation, but it all starts with the decision to take responsibility for it. Once you do that, everything shifts. You stop waiting for permission and you start taking action. You stop blaming and start changing. You stop being a victim and start being a creator. That's the real power of responsibility, and that's where everything begins. Let me ask you a question. What do you want? It's a simple question, but for many, it's surprisingly hard to answer, and that right there, my friend, is a huge problem. You see, if you don't have a clear vision of what you want in life, you're drifting. You're like a ship without a rudder, floating wherever the wind takes you, hoping you'll end up somewhere worthwhile. But life doesn't work that way. If you don't have a destination in mind, you'll end up wherever you happen to land, and that might not be where you want to be. A clear vision is the roadmap that guides you through the twists and turns of life. Without it, you're fumbling in the dark, hoping to stumble onto success. It's not just about having goals. It's about knowing deep down what it is you're truly after. Why? Because when you know exactly what you want, your actions align with that purpose. You don't waste time on things that don't matter, and you certainly don't get sidetracked by distractions. How? You are focused, you are driven, and you are moving forward. Now here's the thing about vision. It has to be more than a vague idea. You can't just say, I want to be successful, and leave it at that. Success means something different to everyone, so you have to define it. What does it look like for you? Do you want financial freedom? Do you want to help others? Do you want to build something that will last? Your vision must be clear, specific, and meaningful to you. It has to inspire you to wake up every morning and chase it down with everything you've got. When you lack a clear vision, life can become overwhelming. You get caught up in the noise, what other people are doing, what society says you should want, or what's easy to achieve. But let me tell you something, that's not the life you want. You have to step back, take a moment, and ask yourself what matters most. What do you want to create, contribute, and leave behind? Once you get crystal clear on that, you will see the path unfold before you. Things will begin to make sense, and decisions won't feel so confusing. And here's the kicker. Vision isn't just about having something to aim for. It's about having a reason to keep going when the going gets tough. Life will throw you curveballs. There will be challenges, setbacks, and days when you feel like giving up. But if you have a vision, if you know what you're working toward, you'll keep pushing forward. The vision becomes your anchor, your motivation, and the fire that keeps you going. The thing is, you need to have a mission and a why. So take the time right now to get clear on what you want. Think about it, write it down, break it into smaller steps, and keep refining it. Don't let the world tell you what you should want. Define it for yourself and make it so vivid in your mind that you can almost touch it. That vision will be the difference between just going through life and actually making something incredible out of it. Without it, you'll always be wandering. With it, you'll be unstoppable. Let's talk about fear for a moment. We all have it. Fear is part of being human, and anyone who tells you they don't experience it at some point is either lying or not living fully. But here's the catch. Fear is not the problem. Letting it control you is. Fear, when acknowledged and understood, is just a signal. It's trying to tell you something, maybe to proceed with caution, or maybe to grow. But fear should never be the reason you hold back. The real problem arises when you let fear decide your actions. when you allow it to dictate what you can or can't do. You see, fear has a funny way of creeping into every corner of your life. It whispers in your ear when you think about trying something new, starting that business, taking a risk, or even speaking your mind. It tells you you're not good enough. It says you'll fail. It says it's safer not to try. And if you listen to that voice, it's like putting handcuffs on your potential. If fear runs your life, you'll never step outside your comfort zone. You'll never experience growth, and you'll never accomplish what you're truly capable of. But here's the truth. Fear is not an enemy, it's a messenger. It's there to warn you, yes, but it's also there to push you into action. When you face fear head on, that's where the magic happens. That's where real progress is made. The only way to conquer fear is to move through it, not around it. You have to take action in spite of it. That's how you break through to the other side, where opportunity lies. Now, this doesn't mean being reckless or ignoring your instincts. It means not letting fear control your decision-making. It means not letting it stop you from pursuing your dreams. You know, one of the great tragedies in life is not failing. It's failing to try because you were too afraid. You can always recover from a failure, but you can't. So here's a question for you. What are you afraid of right now? What's that one thing that keeps you up at night that you've been putting off because you're scared of how it might turn out? It's time to stop letting fear rule your actions. It's time to start using fear as fuel. Think about it. When you move forward in spite of fear, you build confidence, you build resilience, and most importantly, you build momentum. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to be afraid. We all feel it. But it's what you do in the face of fear that defines your future. Do you shrink back, or do you step forward and say, I'm going to do this anyway? The more you face that fear and take action anyway, the more you'll realize something powerful. Fear is not the obstacle. It's the stepping stone to your success. So, the next time fear shows up, don't run from it. Stand tall, embrace it, and move forward. You'll find that every time you do, fear will lose its grip on you. You'll grow stronger, bolder, and more capable with each challenge you face. Fear will never go away, but it doesn't have to control you. The person you are meant to become is just on the other side of that fear. And you are more than capable of overcoming it. Let me be blunt with you. If you're not taking care of your health, everything else will eventually fall apart. You can have the best plans, the biggest dreams, the greatest work ethic, but none of that matters if your body can't keep up. We all know that health is important, but it's so easy to overlook it when life gets busy, when you're chasing goals, or when you think you're too busy to take a break. But neglecting your health is like trying to drive a car without checking the oil. It might work for a while, but eventually it's going to break down. Because every day is like today's. What we do is that. The truth is, your body is the vessel that carries you through life. It's the one thing you can't trade, you can't replace, and you can't get back once it's gone. And yet, we often treat our bodies like they're expendable. We don't sleep enough. We don't eat well. And we don't take time to relax and recharge. But here's the thing. If you want to perform at your highest level, you need to treat your body like the valuable asset it is. You've got to get enough sleep. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Sleep is when your body recovers, when your mind processes information, and when your energy is replenished. Without sleep, your mind and body will deteriorate. You'll be less focused, less productive, and less creative. You'll find yourself making mistakes, getting irritated easily, and not thinking as clearly as you should. It's a vicious cycle that starts with neglecting the most basic thing: rest. And let's not forget about what you're putting into your body. You can't expect to operate at your best when you're fueling yourself with junk. What you eat directly impacts your energy, your mood, and your performance. When you eat foods that nourish your body, you feel more alive, more capable, and more focused. But when you fuel up with unhealthy foods, processed snacks, and sugary drinks, you're setting yourself up for an energy crash, mental fog, and even health problems down the line. Exercise, getting up and moving, isn't just for fitness enthusiasts. It's for everyone. Physical activity doesn't just help you lose weight or build muscle. It boosts your energy levels, reduces stress, and improves your mood. When you exercise regularly, you are literally adding years to your life. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, and vice versa. Without it, your ambition, your drive, and your goals will become much harder to achieve. Don't wait until your body forces you to slow down. You might think you're invincible, that you can power through anything, but eventually the consequences of neglecting your health will catch up with you. The best investment you can make is in yourself, and that means taking care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. Take time each day to prioritize your well-being. Sleep well, eat well, exercise, and manage your stress. When you do, you'll have the energy, focus, and vitality to tackle whatever life throws at you. Without that foundation, everything else you're working toward will be much harder to achieve. So, if you're serious about success, take your health seriously. It's not a side project, it's the foundation for everything else in your life. You can't be the best version of yourself if you're not taking care of yourself. Health isn't just something you check off the list, it's something you nurture every single day. When you do that, you'll have the strength, energy, and clarity to chase your dreams with everything you've got. And trust me, you'll go farther than you ever thought possible. Here's a simple truth. If you want to grow, you've got to face discomfort. It's that simple. The world doesn't reward comfort, and neither does life. The most successful, the most fulfilled people are those who've learned to embrace discomfort and challenge. But here's the kicker. We all have a tendency to avoid it. We want things to be easy. We want the smooth path, the comfortable ride. But let me tell you something. That's not where growth happens. Growth happens when things are hard. It's when you're pushed beyond your limits that you discover what you're truly capable of. When everything is easy, you don't change. You don't get better. It's only when you step into the unknown, when you face a challenge that seems bigger than you, that you start to stretch, learn, and develop the resilience to handle life's difficulties. But if you're always avoiding those moments, always looking for the easy way out, you'll stay exactly where you are, never advancing, never improving. Here's the key. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's the catalyst for growth. The moment you start avoiding discomfort, you start avoiding the very thing that could lead you to the next level. Think about it. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every success story came from someone stepping into discomfort. Whether it was the challenge of learning a new skill, facing a tough decision, or pushing through the pain of failure, it was discomfort that led them to success. You can't get to where you want to go without it. But here's where people make the mistake. They think that discomfort means they're doing something wrong. They think that the struggle is a sign that they're failing. No, the struggle is a sign that you're on the right track. It's easy to get comfortable, to settle into the rhythm of life and coast along. But if you do that, you're never going to reach your full potential. The road to success is paved with obstacles, and those obstacles are there for a reason. They are meant to test you, to shape you, and to make you stronger. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean you should make life harder than it needs to be. You don't go looking for pain for the sake of pain. But if you find yourself constantly seeking the easy route, constantly avoiding anything that's hard, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're holding yourself back from becoming the person you could be. Growth doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from confronting them head on, from stepping into the discomfort with the confidence that you'll come out stronger on the other side. So next time you face something difficult, don't shrink away. Don't look for the shortcut or the quick escape. Lean into it. Understand that this challenge, this discomfort is the very thing that's going to take you to the next level. If you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you'll be unstoppable. Because the truth is, success doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens outside of it. And that's where the magic lies. In the end, the challenge is not the problem. It's your response to the challenge that determines whether you grow or stay stuck. If you avoid it, you stay small. If you face it, you grow beyond anything you could have imagined. So stop running from the hard stuff. Embrace it, welcome it, and let it transform you into the person you were meant to become. Let's talk about one of the most valuable things you have, your time. It's something you can never get back. Once it's gone, and yet most people treat it like it's unlimited. They waste it, they squander it, they let it slip through their fingers without a second thought. But here's the hard truth. If you don't take ownership of your time, someone else will. You see, time doesn't care about your goals, your dreams, or your ambitions. It keeps ticking away, regardless of whether you're using it wisely or letting it slip by. The problem is that most people don't realize how precious time really is. They don't manage it the way they would manage money or any other valuable resource. But time is even more important. You can make more money, you can get more possessions, but you can never make more time. Once you've spent it, it's gone. So what does it mean to take ownership of your time? It means that you start being intentional with it. You decide how you're going to use it, and you act accordingly. You don't let the day just happen to you. You don't let distractions, other people's demands, or trivial matters take over. You must decide what's most important to you and structure your time around those priorities. People often complain about not having enough time, but the truth is, they don't spend the time they have wisely. It's easy to waste hours scrolling through social media, watching television, or getting lost in things that don't bring value to your life. But when you take ownership of your time, you take control of your future. You start making conscious decisions about what to do with your time, and you stop letting life control you. I want you to think about this. What are you doing with the time you have right now? Are you spending it on things that will move you closer to your goals? Are you investing it in your growth, your health, your relationships, or your future? Or are you letting it slip away in small increments, here a little, there a little, until you realize you've wasted an entire year or more? The first step in taking ownership of your time is to stop making excuses. There's never going to be a perfect moment to start. There's never going to be a time when everything aligns and you suddenly have all the time in the world. You have to make time. You have to commit to it. If you're serious about your success, about living a life that matters, then you have to be intentional with the hours you have. This doesn't mean you have to be busy every minute of the day. Rest, relaxation, and recreation are important. But what it does mean is that you need to align your time with your values and goals. You need to prioritize the things that matter most. Stop allowing other people's demands or distractions to take up your precious time. You are the one who gets to decide how you spend it. Here's another thing. Taking ownership of your time also means saying no to things that don't serve you. You can't do everything. You can't say yes to every invitation, every request, every distraction that comes your way. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals, you're saying no to something that could help you move forward. Being busy is not the same as being productive. You don't need to fill every moment with activity. You need to fill it with purpose. Remember, time is the one thing you'll never get back. So stop treating it like it's unlimited. Take control of your time and start using it in a way that moves you closer to your dreams. It's up to you. If you don't take ownership of your time, someone else will. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize that you've spent years waiting for the right time, only to find that time has passed you by. And so I challenge you right now, take a hard look at how you're spending your time. Are you wasting it? Are you letting it slip through your fingers, or are you taking full ownership of it? Start today. Take control. Own your time, and you'll own your future. Let's talk about settling for mediocrity, because this is one of the biggest traps you can fall into. You see, mediocrity doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you stop pushing for more, when you stop striving for excellence, and when you let yourself believe that good enough is good enough. But let me tell you something. Good enough is never enough. It's a mindset that keeps you stuck in a place where you're not really failing, but you're not really thriving either. But it's that gray area where dreams go to die. Mediocrity is the silent killer of potential. It creeps in slowly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it doesn't feel so bad. You get comfortable, you settle in, and you start convincing yourself that it's okay to just get by. But here's the truth. The moment you settle for mediocrity is the moment you stop growing. You stop reaching for your best, and you begin to accept less than what you're truly capable of. This is where it becomes easier to silence yourself going, and here's the real tragedy. When you settle for less, you deny the world the best version of yourself. You deny your own potential. You were not made for mediocrity. Every single one of us has been given gifts, talents, and abilities that, when nurtured and developed, can lead to greatness. But greatness doesn't come by accident. It comes from the relentless pursuit of something higher, something better. It comes from a refusal to settle for average, good enough, or just okay. It comes from consistently pushing yourself to be better than you were yesterday. Think about it. If you settle for mediocrity, you are literally robbing yourself of the chance to see what you could truly accomplish. Every time you let yourself off the hook, every time you say, that's good enough, you are putting a cap on your potential. Mediocrity is what happens when you stop pushing yourself, when you stop setting high standards for yourself, and when you stop aiming for excellence. But here's the thing. It's never too late to change. You don't have to settle for mediocrity. You can start today by choosing to demand more from yourself. Start by setting higher standards. by aiming higher, by holding yourself accountable for your actions. Mediocrity is a choice, just like excellence is a choice. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to choose it every single day. You have to stop making excuses and start making progress. One of the reasons people settle for mediocrity is fear. They're afraid of failing, of not being good enough, of putting in the effort and still falling short. But let me tell you something. Failure is a part of success. You cannot grow without it. You cannot get better without it. The only true failure is the failure to try. And when you try, when you push yourself, you'll learn, you'll improve, and eventually you'll reach the levels of success you've been dreaming about. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Excellence requires hard work, discipline, and a commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. But what's the alternative? Mediocrity? Living a life that's just good enough? What kind of legacy does that leave? What kind of impact does that make on the world? None. Mediocrity is forgettable. Mediocrity doesn't inspire, doesn't leave a mark, and doesn't change anything. So I challenge you today, take a long, hard look at your life. Are you settling for mediocrity? Are you allowing yourself to coast, to stay comfortable, to accept less than you deserve? Or are you pushing yourself to be extraordinary? Are you demanding more from yourself, aiming higher and striving for excellence? You have within you the power to break free from mediocrity, but it starts with you. It starts with the decision to stop accepting good enough and start chasing greatness. Mediocrity may be comfortable, but comfort doesn't lead to achievement, growth, or success. So choose to rise above. Choose to be exceptional. Your best life is waiting for you on the other side of mediocrity. Let's face it. Every single one of us has a darkness within. We all have fears, doubts, insecurities, and past wounds that we've been carrying around. Now, some of you might try to pretend it's not there. You might bury it under work, under distractions, under the surface of your everyday life. But let me tell you something. That darkness doesn't go away just because you ignore it. In fact, it grows stronger, more powerful, and more destructive when left unchecked. The truth is, if you don't confront the darkness within, it will eventually take control of you. We all have parts of ourselves we're not proud of, habits we know aren't serving us, anger we haven't dealt with, fears that paralyze us, regrets that haunt us. But here's the thing, avoiding those parts of yourself is like putting off cleaning a wound. Eventually it gets infected. Eventually it becomes so painful that it takes over every area of your life. You can keep pretending it doesn't matter, you can keep pushing it down, but it will affect the way you think, the way you act, and the way you show up in the world. The darkness within us doesn't just go away on its own. If you keep running from it, it'll follow you into every relationship, every business venture, every decision you make. It shapes your actions without you even realizing it. That self-doubt that stops you from taking risks, the fear that holds you back from your potential, the guilt or anger you harbor, it all stems from unresolved darkness within. If you don't address it, it keeps you stuck, playing small, and never fully stepping into who you were meant to be. Now, confronting that darkness doesn't mean you have to air all your problems for the world to see. It doesn't mean you need to go around sharing every secret you've kept hidden. What it does mean is that you take ownership of it. You acknowledge it, you face it, and you decide to deal with it in a way that empowers you rather than holds you back. This is the most important thing you can do for yourself. You must confront the parts of you that you've been avoiding. You don't become the best version of yourself by ignoring your flaws and weaknesses. You become the best version of yourself by accepting them and choosing to grow from them. Facing the darkness within isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, and it forces you to deal with things you may have spent years avoiding. But it's also the most freeing thing you can do. When you confront that darkness, you take away its power over you. You stop letting it control your actions, your emotions, and your decisions. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone, to continue pretending that everything's fine. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when you confront your fears, when you look those uncomfortable truths about yourself straight in the eye and say, I'm not afraid of you anymore. When you do that, you free yourself from the chains that have been holding you back. The darkest parts of you are often the parts that, once confronted, lead to the greatest transformation. So I ask you today, what's lurking in the shadows of your life that you've been avoiding? What part of you have you been pretending isn't there? What's the thing you know you need to face but keep putting off because it's too hard, too uncomfortable, or too painful? Confronting the darkness within isn't about beating yourself up for your past mistakes or for the things that have hurt you. It's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and using them as fuel to become the person you're capable of becoming. The greatest strength comes from embracing our weaknesses and turning them into our greatest assets. So stop running from your darkness. Face it. Own it. And when you do, you'll find a sense of peace, power, and clarity that you never thought possible. You have the ability to rise above your past, above your fears, above your mistakes. But you can only do that if you confront the darkness within and choose to grow from it. When you do, you'll realize that the light inside of you is far stronger than the darkness you feared. If you take nothing else from this, remember this. The path to success, the path to becoming your best self, is paved with discipline, responsibility, and hard truths. You will face challenges. You will encounter failure. But if you can look these mistakes squarely in the eye, face them head on, and correct them, there is no limit to what you can achieve. It's time to stop making excuses and start making progress.